Here we go with part 3 of my favorite extinct steam locomotive classes, starting with number 5. The Boston and Maine T1 Limas. These 284s were built by Lima between 1928 and 1929 for freight service. As to replace their consolidation types on the freight tracks. One of these features is the common coffin feed water here on the smokebox front. The early front end throttle on top of the smokebox, and the booster exhaust just behind it. Because of the feed water heater, the T1s had a menacing appearance on the Boston and Maine Railroad. Although most superpowered locomotives built by Lima were satisfied with some railroads, the T1s were not so good on the Boston and Maine. The cause of that was the wheel slippage of their 63-inch drive wheels. And by World War II, the Boston and Maine decided to switch to diesel powers. This will eventually have the 284 Limas from the B&M sold to the Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe. Though some of them still contain their appearance prints from the B&M, them on the Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe. However, some of them were eventually rebuilt and converted to burn oil. And they were running as second-hand locomotives. But when the Southern Pacific and Santa Fe began dieselization, their 284s from the Boston and Maine were unfortunately scrapped and lost forever. A rather unfortunate end for one of Boston and Maine's 284s. Part 4. The Virginian-class Alleghenies and BAs. Yep, I'm talking about the cousins of the Chesapeake and Ohio Kanawhas and Alleghenies. Now, let's get on with this. With the Alleghenies arriving on the Virginia Railroad in 1944 to handle freight and coal drags through the Virginian countryside, as well as into Roanoke, Virginia. Like its neighboring railroads, the Virginian Railroad didn't use diesel power until the end of the steam era. The Virginian Berkshires came in 1946, following their Virginian 266 Allegheny types, also used in freight service, but they can occasionally be found on passenger duties somehow. Both of these locomotives handled a lot of freight traffic during the war times, until the end of steam on the Virginian Railroad had come to an end. It's a bit unfortunate for the Virginian to give up their articulated engines, as well as their Berkshire cousins related to C&O Kanawhas. But hey, at least C&O has preserved a handful of their locomotives. So, the Virginian Railroad's own Alleghenies and Berkshires have not quite disappeared for good. And that was part 3 of my favorite extinct steam locomotive classes.